Hey, how's everybody doing? I am Tomlin's back. I know it's been a while. You'll see this is episode 271, and the numbers go numerically, incrementally, but I have taken a little break. We'll use there's some current events to give us some time elements there, but work got overwhelming. School came crashing in and I had to put this project away. Oh, also, I spoke at an inclusion diversity conference, if you remember some of that conversation, and I should probably give you an update on that as well. So a lot went on, and I had to suspend this project for a little while, but um, something had to break, and this time it was the job, which I'm glad. I was having some issues at the job, some harassment. I think I'm pursuing, see if I can have a voice and go legal on them uh, to some degree. You know, the sexual assault survivor, when they are abused or they disclose that they've encountered, some abuse or some trauma. At least nowadays, they are their word is respected, accepted, and there's a legitimate, thorough investigation that occurs. Well, it's interesting. When we talk about discrimination, it's still a tough nut to crack. Uh, you know, I'm not even going that far with whatever happened at work. I'm more looking at a harassment issue with these people. They're pushing my buttons and things like that. So we'll see. Keep you updated. I just got my feelers out. I've been praying a lot, and see where we wind up. I'm not putting. I got to get on with my life. You know, I've got anger issues. I've got a short fuse. I'll admit my part. I'm always good at doing that. Uh, but it's interesting that in every instance, it's been the power group who happens to be white that I'm in this conflict with. And I'm just trying to improve their lot, their business. If they would just leave me the hell alone, they'd make profit. But, they're in position, they have power, privilege, but they want me to be blind and dogmatic and robotic. I just can't do it. I'm a human being. I got to preserve some level of self-respect around here. So I'll keep you updated on that. On that note, you wonder about the black mind. We black folks, as I'm getting into this project, or trying to wrap it up, day 271 here. Some 90 days, 3 months to go, 90 episodes to go, or roughly. I'm starting to understand the black position, black situation. It's a system. America's system is not this inclusive system that it touts around the world. It's a system that works and is in place and that aids a certain kind of person. Anybody else that succeeds in it has expended a whole lot of energy. It has not been a cakewalk for them to engage, participate, and thrive in the system. You know, I didn't recognize a lot of this stuff because much of my upbringing was the indoctrination, conditioning of the system. Therefore, I don't see it, until some of those supports are taken away in a new community, um, experiencing different things, and then I'm having my growth. It's me over here in the world, and we are having this abrasive contact with one another. And the world wants me more of this, and I'm trying to grow and do more of this. Uh, Interesting to watch. I want to see it play out. You know, come this far, I've got to. I love seeing how the story ends, especially a news story. And my story is developing. It's a brand new, unique story in all the earth. Nowhere ever in the universe will this story play out. And it's the same for you as well. White folks, you know, trying to communicate with this white manager, younger guy, that another manager is disrupting the process. And you got bean counters, you got people don't care about feelings and stuff. And when I'm trying to tell this manager that she must not, I'm not going to go into the specifics, but hmm, I've worked this area over a year. This person is brand new, elevated to managerial status, and being the boss and making ignorant moves. So yeah, I get hot under the collar often about that. I don't like that, and I don't like being held to account where they're trying to talk me down and trying to um, control me and have me, try to force a response, a compliant response out of me when I've made money for them. I've walked off so many jobs like that. You should too, you know. Just walk away here. Walk away. Or if you can, if it's a pattern, try to get dates and document stuff, these things. I get too emotional about it, and it brings me to the edge of lashing out. So therefore, I have to leave. But if you've got a cooler head than me, you document these incidents so you can show a pattern if you ever want to go legal with these folks. But the white folks, the white mind, the power group has the power and all this stuff, and they still take, kill, rape, destroy, control. That's their security is continuing to strive to control. That is how it's not. It'd be different if they got their space and left the situation alone. But that is not. I'm seeing now. That's not how they work. That's not how they get their satisfaction. That's not satisfying to gain ground and look across the way and see contentment in another group. They keep going. You know that's a big, huge problem for the power group, and that's an important point because uh, I want to talk about this real quick because it's November 5th, so now there's a big gap between the last offering and today. On November 5th, this week, we've had some conflict at our southern border between the Mexican cartels, and Mormons. There's been some death and kidnappings and stuff. And on the surface, the media And the media probably hasn't caught up with their uh, research yet. Hopefully they will, so they can tell the true story. But I got some inside information from a gentleman in my Spanish class that this conflict this week is actually, spilling over to feud between the Mormons and the cartel that's been going on for some time. Like, this isn't some isolated incident, where you have, like non-white people suddenly attacking uh, white folks. Granted, we want to say drug running is wrong, and there's all kinds of illegality going on at our southern border. Uh, and all that, but the United States is so hypocritical about that. We just took out this Baghdadi guy and all that, and employed all kinds of resources. I bet you a lot of white folks got rich off killing that terrorist. Valid. Uh, but with all that technology, you can't keep cocaine and heroin out of the country. You know, you notice we don't bomb cocaine and heroin crops and stuff. They just go right on poisoning us and killing us off. But it's how the system drives. So don't let me digress about that. I can go on for a long time about America's hypocrisy, about the drug trade and all this stuff, cartels and all this stuff. But this feud between the cartels and the Mormons has been going on for some time. And my Spanish instructor was like, she's has some angst around that towards America, because America holds it up as though this is an isolated incident and the cartel was unprovoked and all that. We don't know the whole story, but at least we know it's not an isolated incident. Something that has gone on for some time. Something spilled over, and somebody felt provoked, and somebody reacted. Sounds little like my work experience. Me minus the violence. Uh, but that's it's incredible. I have no idea like what the future of this world's going to be, because the wheel has to turn. You know, whether it's uh, failure breakdown of capitalism, as a lot of the uh, the communists and socialists, those under that regime, say, their system failed, then the capitalist system has to fail. There seems to be a consensus. No system seems to be able to sustain. It's interesting that America has sustained the longest, they say, on the earth. But I think it's not. It didn't happen naturally. It happens because there's a whole lot of compensation and deals and wheeling and dealing around the world going on to keep America where it's at. But I don't hold out any long-term hopes. I have some religious leanings, and we see some reciprocity happening to those in the Bible who abuse their power. Even some of the backlash that I've gotten from different work scenarios, I could see I've behaved aggressively and shouted down uh, subordinates and people with less power and stuff. So, I'm okay with letting the chickens come home to roost in my life. I've always been able to take my lumps. when when my accountability is called, I'm okay with recognizing it and enduring. I don't know if America as a group has that same ability to sustain. We shall see. All right, let's finish up. Cassy, this is chapter 34, Uncle Tom's Cabin, the Quadroon story. Cassy's telling her story. This is part 2. And we left off with Cassy's telling her story to Tom. She's dressing Tom's wounds that he sustained from Sambo and Quimbo because Tom, asserted himself and would not submit to Legree. Therefore, he gets a beat down. Find that everywhere. Anywhere the subordinate rails against power, power's backlash, is to abuse, and assert its authority. He's not broken Tom. We're going to see later on how far Legree can get with that, but we will see. Cassy goes on, she talks about she was almost married to a white slave master, but this marrying of whites and blacks, especially in the South, it was against the law in some states. I've spoken about this in the past. So it was impossible. But the slave master took her innocence, her gullibility, and kept pumping her up with those lies. Had 2 children together, and life was okay until her master's cousin showed up, and her master's cousins cast eyes on her, and now he wanted her. So the master's cousin, he introduces the slave master to another woman, and Cassy's world is crumbling slowly at that point because the cousin of the master has plans to have Cassy. The cousin sends the master into high gambling debts that he can't repay. This is the second or third time we have a master getting the gambling debts. Who gets thrown under the bus when master has gambling debts? The slaves, So Tom's is a result of that money mismanagement. Now Cassy, we hear, is a result of that money mismanagement, this gambling habit is just as old as probably alcoholism, drug addiction, the gambling habit. The cousin leverages his debts, and finally the cousin has Cassy and the 2 children. The debts must have been enormous. He goes on and he's like, he used the children as leverage to get Cassy to be compliant and submissive so he can have her, of course, sexually and in all kinds of ways and all that, as Cassy relates her story to Tom. And, there's issues between Cassy's son, first son, and this cousin of the slave master. Her children are named Henry and Elise. Pay attention a little to this storyline. I don't want to be a spoiler, but if you get the book, read ahead. These children are important. Cassy is important. Tom meeting Cassy. There's some. They're going to make some connections later on that are very important. This cousin eventually sells Cassy's children as the common ploy. Either when the children are going to be sold, you take the parents on a long trip or something for the day, so they come back and the children are gone. Or if it's a single person, the master leaves, and suddenly these other folks come with showing papers. Everybody's illiterate, but showing papers of ownership and taking a slave. this story just gets played out over and over. It's happened. It's my work story, you know. This incompetent, inexperienced manager coming around telling me stuff that's just not correct. I could use some legal aid. You know, please put some comments on harassment at work if you know anything about that. So she's put up for sale again, and a Captain Stewart buys her, and she has a son by him. You know, because she's very beautiful. You know, these brown women. You know, these Beyonce complexion. A lot of women I could. You know, Vanessa Williams type, very beautiful women. Well, that their beauty is almost a curse. And you remember the movie 300, right? You got these monks, leprous monks up there, you know, but they're up in the mountain, and they're taking, you know, pristine virgins up there. You know, that's what you got going on in the South at this time. So this Captain Stewart buys her, has a son. She's like, you know, I don't want this little boy to grow up in this, so she gives him a laudanum. Laudanum is just alcohol and morphine or some type of painkiller, something like that. It overdoses the child, and she euthanizes her own child. And the story relates, the narrative says she's satisfied totally in that. Cholera outbreak. She almost dies, but she lives through that. She wanted to die, uh, but she lives, and she's sold multiple times. In the meanwhile, her beauty's fading, lines are coming, and all that, and so um, her value decreases until she lands on Legree's plantation. And remember, Legree's plantation is in the middle of a swamp. It's like there's no exposure anymore. She doesn't have the beauty anymore. It would, if she had, she'd be out of Legree's price range probably. Anyway, you know, she wraps up the chapter saying how she's lost her faith and whatnot. And uh, Tom is trying to, he's doing what we expect. He wants to bring her to the idea of living God, of Jesus, religion, and all that. You know, the Cassy's like, you know, I came from the monastery, right? Um, so she was trained religiously, proper ways, etiquette, and all that. And it's sad, you know, it would have been the way she was used all her life would have been just as well, you know, to let her grow up on a plantation and all that, and not receive so much culture, education, literacy, you know, all these, and the refinements with being a lady, a white lady um, in that time, you know, so she's got to deal with that. And so she's like, the disillusionment is too much for her. She can't be part of that anymore, you know. See, you know, she's got some, she's preserving what's left of herself. And forget faith, it's like, I've got to understand how to insert myself, how to be in this system that refuses to let me be. It steals my children, you know, drives me to euthanize, I should say, uh, and, you know, just abuse after abuse, you know. I'm watching good men and women be abused, and uh, the power group, the white regime, still um, sniffing out any idea of self-determination and doing its best to crush it immediately and not letting it thrive. You look at go outside. We're getting into winter now. Might not see it that much, depending where you're at in the country. But look at a sidewalk, and you see a weed or a piece of grass that has made its way through the concrete, and what a time it must have had to appear there. You know, this bit of green and solid concrete all around. It's secure if it sustains. You know what I'm talking about. But it's got some abuse going on there. The slave, her state, her lot is even more problematic because she's coming from such high hopes, high expectations, training, exposure to some refinements and privileges of life, and then going down. Tom has some similar experiences coming from the Shelbys in Kentucky. You know, um, it would be different if she was like a Topsy, all abused from the get-go. And, Topsy's going the other way into refinement, education, privilege, status, and all that. Interesting the way Harriet Beecher Stowe creates this story. I'm going to end there. I don't have no idea. I think we're going to just finish up. I want to finish the 365, at least having all of Uncle Tom's Cabin recorded here. So we'll probably just focus here just for a bees. I'm still in school and things like that, and I have no idea how I'm going to get to this. I'm just glad I got to it. Again, let me not get out with telling you about the resources. As I always do, I usually do this at the top uh, of a segment, but it's okay. We'll just have it here now. You see behind me, hashtag us to symbol. Yes, black women with their story and their support. Um, Check out Blag Enough, BLAGGENUF. It's kind of a black Facebook experience. I'm inspired to do this work by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. Check him out. You can find him at powernomics.com. If you get any of his works, his written works, get this one definitely. It'll give you a broad cross-section overview of how people with black skin in America came to be where they're at, why they're still here, things like that. A Black History Reader by Dr. Claude Anderson. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America. Check them out. Tell them Tomlin's Nyback sent you, and because I can't get in touch with him. That'd be nice if somebody put in a good word. I'd love to talk with him one-on-one. And check out Uncle Tom's Cabin. Get this and read this. This is not some old book that's way back. This stuff is still relevant. You don't have to do a whole lot of mental gymnastics to find the principles in here that are still working in America today. It's a long one. It's not a little pamphlet about a uppity Negro in the South, as a lot of propaganda to keep you away from reading the book. That's a book packed with a lot of great um, philosophy, psychology, politics, you know. And I gotta wait till the end when we get to the end, but we'll unveil some other truths about Harriet Beecher Stowe's great work. as we finish up 365 days towards racial change. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. I'm not going to hold you hostage. I'm a little rusty, as you can see. I've been away for a while. Uh, so we'll just keep plugging away. I need to get that 365. I'm committed. It's mine. We're going to make it happen. Have a good day. Good day whenever you're watching this. Buenos dias. God bless.